There you go.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the May 2023 Cemetery and Funeral Bureau Advisory Committee meeting. My name is Gina Cheverini Sanchez. I am the Bureau Chief. This volunteer committee has begun its new term from 2023 to 2025 with our new members. Some reappointments, some new appointments. I want to thank you for your time, and I'll be having each committee member introduce themselves in just a moment. But first, I just want to say a special thank you for the two members who have termed off the committee, Ms. Nicole Montague and Ms. Maria Mangini. Both of them served multiple terms on the committee, provided valuable feedback to the Bureau, and we just greatly appreciate their time and commitment to the Bureau. Before we take roll call, I'd like to thank everyone here and online for participating in our hybrid meeting. The public location is here at headquarters in Sacramento, and everyone else is on WebEx. This is being recorded and will be posted on YouTube for viewing at a later date. Anyone interested in participating in the meeting by making a public comment virtually via WebEx, you must have mic availability on your computer. If you do not have that availability, there is a phone call option, and that information is on the agenda. So the agenda can be found on the advisory committee link on our website, cfb.ca.gov. All lines are currently on mute as the meeting progresses through the agenda. The lines will remain on mute until I ask for public comment, at which time the moderator will let you know you can unmute yourself and make your public comment. If you do have a comment, please type the word comment in the comment box, and we have 5 minutes to each individual providing comments, and multiple comments are allowed. Okay, as a reminder, CFB committee members, once each agenda item has been presented, I will ask for discussion. If you have any comments or questions, just press the small hand icon button. It's, for me on my computer right now, it's on the bottom, 2 dots away from the red X. And then you can unmute yourself and begin speaking. So this approach is necessary to facilitate the meeting and to ensure the Bureau can complete its necessary business. Again, I appreciate everyone's understanding and patience as we navigate this meeting format. Before we get started, I'd like to ask the monitor if there are any other general instructions.
This is the DCA moderator. Some slight modifications to the public comment process. Once we open for public comment periodically, we will open up the WebEx Q&A feature, but anyone may also raise their hand to ask to make a public comment by clicking on the hand icon, and that might be easier to find for many people. So you should have a toolbar at the bottom of your screen with a little hand icon. That's what you'll hit when public comment does open.
Perfect. Thank you for that clarification. I appreciate that.
You bet.
So I'd like to take a moment to do roll call for our new committee, our newly appointed committee. I have a list here that I was provided. I think it's in the same order as online. So I'm going to go down the list, call your name. If you could unmute yourself, or if you're just here in the office with us, go ahead and introduce yourself. And if there's anything else you'd like to add where you work, or anything else you'd like to add, please feel free, as this is our first meeting with us. So first is Ms. Jasmine Berrios.
Good morning, folks. My name is Jasmine Berrios. I'm a licensed funeral director and embalmer, currently employed with Hollywood Funeral Home and Hollywood Forever Cemetery. And I am newly appointed and very excited to be a part of the committee and be able to help wherever my hands can.
Thank you. Ms. Margaret McMillan.
Hey, good morning. My name is Margaret. I go by Maggie if you ever meet me in person. I'm going to apologize in advance because my camera's not on. I'm at a different desk. It's my second term with the advisory committee, and I've got a license for funeral director and crematory manager, and have been doing this for about 15 years.
Well, thank you. Ms. Chanel O'Farrell.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Chanel O'Farrell. I am the licensed funeral director and manager of Hollywood Funeral Home with Hollywood Forever Cemetery. I'm the crematory manager as well. This is my second term with the advisory committee. Thank you for having me back. And I'm also the current president of the LA County Funeral Directors Association.
All right, thank you. Next, Mr. Benzie.
Yeah, Jason Benzie, a resident of Sacramento. I go to many funeral homes as a member of the clergy. I pastor Lutheran Church of Our Redeemer in Sacramento and Gethsemane Lutheran Church, and also I'm a chaplain in the U.S. Air Force. My home base is Travis Air Force Base, and I have been involved in funeral affairs by way of former member of the now dissolved Funeral Consumers Alliance of Northern California, and part of ongoing work with state work of trying to do advocacy on behalf of funeral consumers.
Wonderful, thank you. Mr. Jacob Jett.
Good morning. This is my also second term with the advisory committee, and I'm Jacob Jett. I'm a board certified chaplain with the Association of Professional Chaplains. I've been a hospice chaplain the last 10 years in Marin County.
Thank you. Ms. Gino Cui.
Yes, I think this is my second term, right, Gina?
Yes.
I'm in Central California in Merced, and I'm active with the Funeral Consumers Alliance. I'm president of the Funeral Consumers Alliance of Los Angeles, and work with Jason, and we're forming another a new 501c3 for advocacy work.
Wonderful, thank you. And Ms. Jolina Grande.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jolina Grande, and I'm a licensed funeral director, embalmer, cemetery manager, and crematory manager. I'm in Southern California in Orange County and have worked in funeral service since 1988. It is my pleasure and privilege to be invited back for another term on the advisory committee. And I also am very, very active with the American Board of Funeral Service Education and participate with the International Conference of Funeral Service Examining Boards.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much, committee. Welcome. Again, I want to extend my gratitude for your time. I know you're all very busy, and the Bureau sincerely appreciates the dedication to the industry and the consumers in your advisory role in this committee. So that takes care of agenda item number 1. If there's any public comment, do I have to ask for public comment for that one, for introduction? No? Okay. And so we can move on to agenda item number 2, which is the update on the annual meeting of the International Conference of Funeral Service Examining Boards, which Jolene and you will hear just refer to as the conference. This is the entity that administers the science section of the National Embalmer Exam. So our licensees going for an embalmer license do have to take that section of the exam. But they also provide valuable engagement opportunities, stakeholder relations, keeping the regulators up to date on national trends, and keeping that all at the forefront of the regulatory community. So our committee member, Ms. Jolina Grande, was in attendance at this meeting and will be providing us an update. So Ms. Grande, please, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Gina. The International Conference of Funeral Service Examining Boards met February 28th through March 2nd in Chandler, Arizona, and it brings together regulatory representatives from across the United States as well as the provinces of Canada. Many of the items of discussion at this annual meeting revolved around items that are going on in different districts, particularly the deregulation movement and some of the changes that our sister state over in Arizona recently made to their licensing and regulation requirements of funeral service practice. There were professional development sessions on compassion fatigue, as well as model disposition standards. We had conversations with best practices from funeral service education entities regarding preparation for the national board exam. In fact, one of the best attended sessions was on the update to the national board exam, testing program. They recently concluded their job task analysis in 2022. They adopted a new blueprint of professional expectations for candidates sitting for the Funeral Service Arts or Funeral Service Sciences National Board exam. They also gave us updates on the testing program at the state level. There are many states that authorize the National Board Exam Arts section as a component of testing for funeral director licenses in those jurisdictions. And they used to have a nomenclature that would be SBE or State Board Exam, which even though it carried the acronym SBE, it essentially was the National Board Exam Arts section. So the International Conference has decided to merge the SBE and the NBE Arts testing programs so that candidates would no longer be confused as to whether or not they're taking the state board exam equivalent of the National Board Exam Arts or taking the National Board Exam Arts. And they've also provided us with some policy changes regarding candidate eligibility for the National Board Exam Arts, as well as the new reporting that candidates who are unsuccessful on either section of the National Board Exam would receive at the conclusion of their submission of the exam in the event they were not successful. So a lot going on, great conversations. Their next meeting will be held February 28th and 29th of 2024 in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina at the Marina Inn at Grande Dunes Resort. And of course, as always, they have a lot of the information that I just provided available on their website, which is the conferenceonline.org. And all of the presentations are archived there, as well as meeting minutes, a roster of those who were in attendance, and report outs from each of the districts. So with that, Gina, I will return it to you.
Thank you very much. Sounds like a very busy meeting. A lot of interesting topics. I'm very interested in the topic about reporting and what they're providing our applicants when they fail. I think that's great. The more information we can give them to help them pass the next time is great. So I'm definitely interested in looking into that a little bit more. I appreciate that. Is there anyone in the committee that has anything to add or would like to say anything on this topic? Okay. Seeing none, we'll open it up for public comment. So go ahead and raise your hand.
Exactly. This is the moderator. We're opening up the public comment feature of WebEx. If you'd like to make a comment, you can look for the question mark icon, typically in the lower right of your WebEx screen, and then type the word comment in that text box and click send. But the easiest option is to raise your hand. I see we have a hand raised from someone logged into WebEx as Patrick Bartlett. Patrick, I'm going to send you a request to unmute your microphone. You're unmuted.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bartlett.
Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to speak to the Bureau. And first of all, I want to thank you, the Bureau, for the job that you do. I will be brief. As you know, my name is Patrick Bartlett. I live near Houston, Texas.
Mr. Bartlett, I'm so sorry. Can you hold that comment to the very next agenda item, number 3? Public comments not on the agenda.
Gina,
just for form. Is it okay?
So why don't we go ahead and be open right now for public comments on item 2, and then also item 3, public comments for items not on the agenda, and our member can continue.
Thank you, Mr. Bartlett. Please continue. I'm sorry about that. Thank you.
Okay, and I also apologize. I'm not very familiar with your procedures.
That's okay. Absolutely.
I think that what I have to say is pretty important. The reason why I am here, to give you a little bit of background, is that my family, we're from the Texas area. We paid $875 to an individual running a business in California to have our mother's cremains incorporated into a wreath to be deployed into the ocean. the Better Business Bureau states he's been in business for approximately 13 years, and he advertised his business to a worldwide audience on the internet. And that's how my sister, who eventually became a complainant in a Bureau investigation, found him. This individual informed my sister that my mother's reef had been deployed. A local police department seized my mother's cremains along with 16 others from his backyard. She had not been incorporated into a reef, nor had her cremains been deployed. Luckily for us, her cremains were returned to my family, and she's been laid to rest. And this incident calls into question every single cremains that this person or business has claimed to make into a reef and to deploy into the ocean. We thought it was going to be a beautiful gesture, but it turned out to be a very, very bad nightmare for my family. Despite all these facts, this individual was not registered with the Bureau to be a cremated remains disposer. And there was insufficient evidence in our case to find that the individual had violated any regulations that the Bureau uses to enforce funeral and cemetery professions. Now, I heard Ms. Grande talk about deregulation. I probably am for more regulation when it comes to things like this. But I did notice that in the Business and Professions Code 7672A, that was in fact during our investigation, and that is currently being on the Bureau's current regulations that they're enforcing, that this is really inadequate. This is an emerging threat that's not only happening in California, but it's happening here in Texas too. To give you an example, right in the middle of the Bureau's investigation, I don't know if you can actually see this. I'm holding this up and I can't see myself. This is an article from the Houston Chronicle, dated February 9th of 2023, hired to spread ashes at sea, Galveston boat captain kept them instead. This is something that's just too easy to do. This is nothing more than a modern day grave robber that a person or a company is making a profit off of somebody's remains. It's too easy to get paid about $1,000, take the remains, say that I scattered the ashes or I made them into a reef with no family member present, no evidence to be submitted, no paperwork, and to keep the money and then not do anything about it. 17 total cremains were in his backyard. I believe that one way to combat this is to require any person in the state of California who accepts a payment, compensation, or donation to handle or dispose of cremains or offer to do so should be required to obtain a license from the Bureau. In our case, they would have been able to possibly find this person. Had he have had a license, there would have been evidence to possibly impose up to a $5,000 fine, which could have eaten into his profits. It would also protect legitimate businesses, increase their income, and also increase the customer satisfaction of people doing business in California. Now, my understanding is that the state of California has a police department. These are state troopers, Department of Public Safety. They may be able to work with the Bureau in cases like our families in obtaining information because they have statewide authority for statewide laws in the criminal investigation. And also, too, they may have the authority or have a legal memorandum of understanding with a department that may open the door for some interaction between the Bureau and your investigation if it's running concurrent with a criminal investigation like it was with ours. So my feeling about this and my belief is that unless the Bureau does something that will address this, this is only going to get worse. And I know that
It's been 5 minutes.
Thank you very much.
And I do not see any other requests for
Sorry,
comment.
Mr. Bartlett, if you just wanted to finish that final thought, I don't mind giving you another minute. That's fine. I heard you were kind of winding down there.
I am. I think that what this requires from the Bureau is thinking outside the urn, really. I know that all of you have family members, and one day you're going to have to be involved in the burial of a parent, a brother or sister, or even a child. And I hope that each one of you does not have to go through what my family had to go through in dealing with this. So with this, again, I want to thank you for the work that you're doing. Sometimes the Bureau is the last defense for people like my family. And I now close my statement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As this is public comment on items not on the agenda, we can't respond except for, a potential discussion of Business and Professions Code Statute 7622. A, where it speaks of cremated remains disposers of more than 10 cremated remains per year must be licensed. So we will put that on the potential for our next meeting in October. And I just greatly appreciate your time and your attendance and your comment today. Is there anyone else that would like to make a public comment not on the agenda at this time?
And this is the moderator. I do not see any other raised hands. Shall we close public comment?
I think we can. Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we'll be moving on to agenda item number 4. Update from the Department of Consumer Affairs. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to our department liaison from the Executive Office of the Department for an update. I need to make sure that she's been made a panelist. It's not.
I just promoted her and she can unmute herself now.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Good morning, Bureau Chief Sanchez and Bureau Advisory Committee members. Thank you for the opportunity to provide the DCA update today. My name is Karina Smith. I'm with the Division of Programs and Policy Review. I would like to take a moment to welcome Jasmine Barrios and Jason Bentz to the Bureau. We appreciate your service. Since 2017, the state of California has participated in the Public Service Recognition Week to express appreciation for civil servants and the essential work they do. DCA celebrated the week with a department-wide appreciation message to staff, social media highlighting staff testimonials, and ended the week with a video highlighting employee service. Public Service Recognition Week was celebrated last week on May 7th through 13th, and so I want to also thank you and the dedicated Bureau staff for all of your hard work daily. We are grateful for your service. Next, I'd like to inform you that DCA's printing provider experienced technical difficulties that paused the printing of renewals, certificates, licenses, and letters for certain boards from April 13th through May 15th. Printing has resumed, however, because of the interruption, there is a backlog the printing vendor is addressing. Additional updates will be provided as more information becomes available on this subject. Moving on, I will provide a diversity, equity, and inclusion update. Established last fall, the department's DEI steering committee is comprised of 12 executive leaders from the boards, bureaus, and department, and has been working on many items, including updating the strategic planning process, training, and development of the informational DEI fact sheet, which was distributed to board leadership. The strategic planning process has been updated to embed DEI into the process, which includes a survey, DEI section in the environmental scan, video messages, and a brief training video. DCA's solid team will likely be reaching out to your bureau chief to develop or update new strategic plans by the end of the month. In addition, all DCA solid trainers will complete a 50-hour diversity, equity, and inclusion training certification program through the University of Massachusetts. On April 28th, Director Kirchmeier issued a memorandum of DCA's commitment to employees to increase the availability of DEI courses through DCA training unit. A DEI section has been added to the homepage of the learning management system, and employees can access and register now for 3 courses available in June. Over the coming months, additional courses and educational information will be available. DCA's first diversity, equity, and inclusion fact sheet has been released. It was developed as an informational tool and includes the department's 3 DEI initiatives, memorializes DCA services that support DEI efforts, and include DEI terminology as it applies to DCA. On May 12th, the DEI Steering Committee held its quarterly meetings in person and elected a chairperson, Yafana Lamar, of the Contractor State Licensing Board, and vice chairperson, Paul Sanchez, of the Speech Language Pathology and Audiology Board. The committee also discussed training, strategic planning, and DEI activities through the end of the calendar year. The DEI Steering Committee's work continues, and I look forward to updating you in the months ahead on their progress. Equally important, I'd like to make you aware that all DCA employees and appointees, including board and advisory council members, will need to complete the sexual harassment prevention training this year. Board members must take the 2-hour supervisory training, and advisory council members must take the 1-hour non-supervisory training. This training is required every odd number year and is online, self-paced, and approximately 2 hours. The sexual harassment prevention training is available in the department's learning management system. For more information, a mandatory trainings page has been created to help members identify, access, and track specified trainings. The page includes direct links to the mandatory trainings as well as pertinent information the policy specific to these training courses. Go to dca.ca.gov and click on the DCA Board Member Resource Center page under the required board member training. You can also reach out to Melissa Gear or Yvonne Durantes. As a reminder, board members must complete the BMOT within 1 year of their appointment or reappointment. On June 20th, BMOT will be offered in person in Sacramento and again on October 10th at a location to be determined. Members can register for this training via LMS. Moving on, as all of you are aware, legislation passed last year amending provisions of the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act to extend the ability of state bodies such as DCA boards and bureaus to conduct public meetings virtually through July 1st, 2023. Absent the passing of new legislation to extend these provisions, DCA boards and bureaus will not be allowed to conduct meetings virtually after July 1st, 2023. DCA is aware of legislation recently introduced, SB 544, which removes certain teleconference requirements from the Open Meeting Act. The bill was recently amended to do the following. 1, require members of the state body participating remotely to disclose whether any individuals 18 years of age or older are present in the room at the remote location and general nature of the member's relationship to those individuals. And 2, require state bodies to end or adjourn the meeting upon discovering that a means of remote participation required by the bill has failed and cannot be restored. This bill does not include an urgency clause and will not take effect until January 1st, 2024. Boards and bureaus should be prepared to conduct public meetings in person in the interim beginning July 1st, 2023. Next, I'll share the information about the federal portability law. On January 5th, 2023, a new federal law took effect that enables services members and their spouses who hold professional licenses in a different state to participate in California with the same professional discipline and at a similar scope of practice if they are required to relocate to California due to military orders. Since becoming aware of the new law, DCA has been collaborating with the agency on how to best implement this. DCA will share information as it becomes available. In the meantime, should your board receive an inquiry from a service member or spouse regarding this new law, please contact DCA Legal Affairs. Finally, DCA submitted its 2021-2022 annual report to the legislature, and the report is now available on the DCA website under Publications Annual Reports. This annual report includes a new design and an additional reporting metrics such as military licensing data now required for all DCA boards and bureaus. We hope you will take the time to review this impressive compilation of valuable work for the boards and bureaus. This concludes the DCA update. Thank you again for this opportunity and for all the work you do to protect California's consumers.
Thank you very much for that update. I have a couple of follow-ups for our members on that and our licensees. So the printing of renewals and initial licenses was held up from April 13th to May 15th. The Bureau is aware that they are catching up. They are sending out those licenses. They're catching up on the backlog, and licensees should be receiving them soon. If you were a licensee that was kind of caught in that mix and you do not have your current license up and posted, the Bureau is aware. Our field representatives and inspectors are aware of that and will not be cited for that. So this does bring up, you know, a lot of discussion on how to maybe text digitally or somehow improve, less paper, more techie on how to get these licenses posted. There's a lot of discussion and ideas on that because these paper licenses are only technically valid, you know, the moment they're printed. The license could be, you know, surrendered, canceled, revoked, whatever it is at any time while it's posted. So we are looking for IT routes around these paper licenses, but right now it is what it is. And we're aware that there was a month that we're getting caught up. So it's going to be kind of a 1 month it was down. It's going to be about 30 days to catch up. So there's going to be kind of a 2-month window that the Bureau is aware that licenses may not be posted. The most new, you know, the current renewed license may not be posted. So just keep up that old one until we get there. And when an inspector comes, they'll know what window that you fall in on that. So I didn't want there to be any worries out there about that. Also, we will be working with a new strategic plan. Our strategic plan expires this year, so we will be going through that new process with the department. We're looking forward to that. Carolina can also help any member with the sexual harassment prevention training. And our October meeting, last comment on the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act and the changes made to the law. This will affect our meeting in October. So I'll be following up with members about our plan. We'll do some logistics here and our plan for our meeting in October. But it appears as of right this moment, it will be in person with noticed locations. So that was my only comments to add on to Ms. Smith's comments. Thank you so much for your update from the department. Do the members have any additional comments or questions? Jolene, I see your hand up. You can unmute yourself.
Thank you. I am particularly interested in how we're going to be at the Cemetery and Funeral Bureau addressing the veteran or the active duty military and or their spouses, allowing them to practice under a license that they would have had in another state or jurisdiction. Do we have any idea, Gina, how this is going to be adopted into the Bureau?
Yes, we have been working diligently with the department on this, trying to create a streamline to implement this federal law. So there was a law last year. I think you guys, we spoke to it. It's called AB 107 that offers a temporary license for military spouses. This is separate from that. This is a federal, almost a registration. So it's very different. We're looking to streamline it department-wide because this does affect all occupational licensing, where they can go on electronically, drop down, we'll choose the Bureau, what license they have in what state, and then it'll come to us for a review. Our review under federal law, under our interpretation, it will be very minimal, and they will be placed on a registration list. So it'll really be up to, you know, licensees who are hiring these people to know this is a registration, not a California license. And then additionally, the consumer will be able to look up that license also, or that registration also on a separate registration list. But it's very limited on our review. It's more like a practice privilege. And so it can be revoked. The practice privilege can be revoked. So there is, you know, an enforcement side. We do still carry that ability at the Bureau. So we will be aware of them. We will be posting them, the registrations, and we still have enforcement to revoke any privilege. And that should be coming soon because this was kind of it came on very fast. So, you know, IT is putting that as a priority to get that going.
Will there
That's why
be-
we're doing it on a case-by-case basis. We haven't received any yet, but if we do receive any, we'll be working with our legal counsel and reviewing it. But we hope to streamline it soon.
Will there be any fees attached to the processing of this registration and the privilege to practice under other jurisdiction authorization?
No fee for this one or AB 107. So both of those are new services offered for free. So there's that. Fortunately, I don't know if it's fortunate for the Bureau. I mean, fortunate for the Bureau resources, but our numbers are pretty low for military spouses. Doesn't tend to be a common license military spouses hold that get transferred here, I suppose. So it is minimal and absorbable at this time. We'll see though if it sparks, if these kinds of pathways spark an increase in these types of licenses or registrations offered. Very good questions. Thank you. Anyone else? Any members from the public?
And this is the moderator, and we've opened up the WebEx Q&A to facilitate public comment. If anyone would like to make a comment, you can look for the question mark icon, type the word comment, and click send, or anyone may raise their hand by clicking on the hand icon. Is there any comment on the DCA report? And I do not see any request for comment at this time. Shall I close public comment?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to agenda number 5. This is a long one. I can tell because I have 3 pages and a half of comments. Sorry, everyone. Agenda number 5, we, myself and another presenter, Michelle here, and Ms. Rose Turner will be providing an update on each topic listed, agenda items A through G. So committee members, you can raise your hand at any time if you'd like to make a comment as we go, but we'll mostly be holding all discussion and public comments till the end of G. Some are very short presentations and some are a little bit longer. So we're going to start with the sunset review process. Some are aware and some are unaware. So every 4 years, the Bureau, in this specific case, it's actually 5 years due to the pandemic, the Bureau must prepare a report that's submitted to the legislature on Bureau activities. So Rose Turner, the legislative manager here at the department, will be providing us today with additional information of the overall process and what to expect. So Rose, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Gina. Hi, everybody. My name is Rose Turner. I'm a legislative manager with the Department of Consumer Affairs, Division of Legislative Affairs. So the California State Legislature's Assembly and Senate Business and Professions committees jointly hold oversight hearings to evaluate and review all of the licensing boards and bureaus within the Department of Consumer Affairs. And these hearings are known as sunset review hearings, primarily because their purpose is to determine if a board should be sunset or abolished, or if their operation should continue. Usually, it's very rare that they're actually sunset. So usually the legislature conducts a review of the program's functions to determine what reforms need to be made to improve the program and its efficiency and effectiveness. The caveat here is that most bureaus, and including the Cemetery and Funeral Bureau, don't actually have a sunset date in their Practice Act or governing statutes. So they can't be sunset. Instead, bureaus are subject to a statutory review date that's on the same schedule as a sunset date for boards. This allows the legislature to conduct the programmatic evaluation portion of its review and propose any necessary reforms that they think they or the Bureau feel that are needed in order to improve the Bureau's overall function. For example, this is really minor, but in the last, in the Cemetery and Funeral Bureau's last sunset bill, the one change that was made was the embalming standards review process for the Bureau was more closely amended to align to how the Bureau actually performed their review of out-of-state embalming processes. Anyway, the sunset review process starts internally about 1.5 years before the review deadline or the sunset date that's set in statute. This is in the Bureau's case, the review deadline is January 1st, 2025. The Bureau is asked to draft a sunset report to present to the Joint Business and Professions Committees in order to provide the committees with a status of the Bureau's functions and operations since the last sunset review took place. The sunset report is also the place where the Bureau can suggest programmatic changes it thinks may need statutory implementation. Sunset reports are usually due to the legislature in early December and must go through several rounds of review by the Department of Consumer Affairs, our parent agency, the Business Consumer Services and Housing Agency, and the Governor's Office before they are finally submitted. So because of the lengthy review process, we ask that bureaus often start working on their reports around this time, May, April, May, June, just so that we have time to look over everything and we have time to make edits and comments, and the Governor's Office and agency has time to make their edits and comments too. Once the sunset reports are submitted to the legislature reviews them and develops their own background papers, which identify significant policy and operational issues that may need to be addressed. These issues are then discussed at the sunset review hearings, which are usually held in late February or early March next year. So we're looking at 2024. And the hearings are held before both the Assembly and Senate Business and Professions Committees jointly. Gina Sanchez as Bureau Chief and the Department of Consumer Affairs Director, Kim Kirkmeyer, will provide testimony addressing specific issues identified in the background paper and requested by legislative staff, as well as answer any questions that legislators have during the hearing. Sometimes staff members can participate if there are any enforcement related questions that come up during the sunset review process, but that's usually pretty rare. And it really only happens if their expertise is called for. Based on the information gathered at the hearing and any written follow-up requested by the legislature, the Business and Professions Committees will introduce a bill that includes statutory language addressing the issues identified. The bill will also include an extension of the Bureau's review date, and it will move through the normal legislative session, receive amendments,
Exactly right.
Yeah. Sunset bills are usually non-controversial enough in scope to be easily approved by the legislature and get signed by the governor. And we kick this process on for another, hopefully, 4 years, unless there's a pandemic.
Then it could be 5.
Then it can be 5.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. We have already begun the process, so I have designated resources within the Bureau. Thank you, Carolina Salmon, and other resources within the Bureau to start gathering statistics, start the narrative, and begin that process. I'll have to submit it before our next meeting for its initial review up to agency and so on. So we will not see a draft at the October meeting, unfortunately. But I will keep you posted. Please, get on, connect with us from our website. We will be providing updates, via listserv for anything that's posted on the website or when we go for hearing next year and so on. So this is, like she said, a long process. So we start early to get the report written and start gathering the attachments, which includes everything from attendance here at our committee meetings to licensing, enforcement, audits, everything under the sun. We got to provide them an update to make sure that we're still providing the consumer protection and mandates that the legislature requires. So when I was hired on February 19th, 2019, I testified at the sunset hearing within my first week being here. So my predecessor, Lisa Moore, wrote an amazing sunset report, so I got out of that part of it. But I did not get out of the testimony part in front of the legislature and the Assembly and Senate committee. So I do have a bit of experience in testifying, so it won't be my first time up. But I really was, you know, a deer in headlights at that one because I had just walked in. I feel like this will be a great sunset for us, great testimony for us, and I am excited to be able to share everything the Bureau's done in these past 5 years. So does the committee have any comments on this? No? Does the public?
And this is the moderator.
I'm just kidding. Sorry. I promised everybody I'd go through everything and not do public comment till the end.
Okay.
Moving on to item B. Thank you, moderator. I apologize for interrupting you there. Staffing. So moving on to item B, CFP staffing. We are currently developing recruitment packages for 2 positions. One is a field representative. This position performs compliance inspections and conducts investigations of violations of the Cemetery and Funeral Act. This position does require the incumbent to hold an embalmer license in good standing and have experience in the industry. The area assigned to this position is in Los Angeles, and the incumbent must be able to accommodate a home office. We provide a vehicle, a state car, and they are expected to be able to drive to licensee locations several times a week and occasionally travel to headquarters as needed. So we are developing, to get on with the state, there's always a 2-part process. You take an exam, you apply for the job. So the exam is based on experience and education. It's not like, you know, how many apples are left in this bucket. So it's an education experience exam. So that will be going out. We'll be doing a lot of, what is that called, outreach to our licensees and those in the industry to refer those licensed embalmers to apply for this position. Then they'll apply for the actual position itself, and that's when they perform the interview with the Bureau staff. So the second position, same process, exam, which is online, education experience, and then apply for the job, is an associate governmental program analyst, or AGPA. This position is located here at headquarters and performs review of initial complaints received by the Bureau and reviews investigations, ensuring that factual evidence supports any findings of violations. So this is the headquarters support to the field representatives that perform the investigations and inspections. So 2 very exciting positions. If you know anyone, tell them to keep an eye and join our mailing list, because we do put out our positions and Facebook and on our Facebook page. So moving on to C, budgets. We have a handout for this. Moderator, if you can feel free to switch over to the fund condition. I think, yes, okay. Hold on, let me open my fund condition on my desktop here. There it is. Okay, so the first column there is our actuals from 2021-22, which means that that year has been closed out, and those are actual numbers, not projected numbers, which would be the next 3 years, considering we're not quite done with fiscal year 22-23. So the Bureau ended fiscal year 21-22 collecting close to $4.5 million in total revenue, and a net expenditure, what we spent, was approximately $5.5 million. So we also had an additional $400,000 in additional direct costs to the Bureau, which were the supplemental pension payments and the statewide pro rata. So, so we ended 21-22 with a fund balance of $3.5 million. So it's important to know that we showed a structural deficit, as you can see, from the total higher expenses versus what came in. However, as we discussed several times in our meetings here, with the results of recent enacted legislation, SB 1443, the fee increase was established in January 1, 2023. So the second column of current year, the CY stands for current year 22-23. That fee increase was only effective half of that fiscal year. So we are 5 months into it. So the total revenue expected, you can see increases to, it's that number that says 5.069. So a little over 5 million. Expenditures expect to go up a little bit also. Oh, sorry, I have to scroll down on my thing to the 6.296. So it does show still a little bit of structural deficit. However, a few things to note that are driving expenditures is the result of the personal service adjustments, which include employee general salary increases, increases to compensation and retirements. Plus, the budget office does include a 3% increase each year to expenditures. Doesn't mean we always see that 3% increase each year. So that is built in to that 6.296 number. So the fund condition does not include, or other things that may affect us is increased enforcement costs, which can affect the Bureau in its out years. The budget office will continue to work with the board on any future resource needs, but I do not anticipate, I know it says down here, the months in reserve at the bottom. This reflects, you know, what's been left over, right? Our savings account, our months in reserve. We also call it the MIR. So the months in reserve would mean if all revenue stopped, how long can the Bureau function without any new incoming revenue? And that is what makes up our months in reserve. So right now we're at 6.8 from last year. It goes down to 3.9, continues to go down. What this doesn't show is the prior year adjustment each year, which is at the very top under beginning balance. It'll say prior year adjustment. You'll see in the actuals of 2021-22, there's the number 42. That's actually $420,000 that was reverted to the following year. So I do expect, you know, we are very conscientious of our budget, and historically we have rolled over money to each year, which then pushes out our months in reserve and keeps us from being in a structural deficit for too long. So we are conservative on our spending, and that's pushing out the months in reserve with that. So I think I pretty much beat that to death, right? That's a terrible pun for this office. I'm sorry. So I think that covers. If anyone has any questions, this one's kind of technical. Yeah, go ahead, Jolena.
Thank you. I was wondering, with our budget year, looking at a projection on the renewal fees, and there has been an increase in the renewal fees, are we seeing a corresponding decrease in the number of licenses that are being renewed because of the fee increase?
Not yet. Not yet. So our big renewal cycle comes in June 30th is when a lot of annual renewals will go, will expire, which is our cemetery salespersons. So that would be the most one I would expect to not see as many renewals, but otherwise funeral establishments, individual licenses of managers and stuff is from the first 4 months, 5 months has been pretty consistent. So I think we'll have a better idea of that in October when we have our full fiscal year. I think we'll maybe be able to see a better impact to compare to the previous fiscal year.
And our fiscal year runs October 1 through September 30th?
Nope, sorry, July 1st to June 30th.
Thank you.
That one's it's a hard one for me. Okay, you're welcome. Okay, so moving on to our business modernization. I really wish we would have started with this because it's my favorite thing to announce today is that as of yesterday, CFB has gone live with its funeral director application 100% online. So there we go. We are very excited to see that. We tested it internally yesterday, logging into the back office, you know, forgetting our password, logging back in. It was working wonderfully. So I'm very excited that if anyone here knows anybody that wants to apply today or tomorrow, that would be really great because we want to start working an application and ensuring that functionality is there for both the applicant and the Bureau. So that is part of our business modernization plan. I call it BizMod, and it's an initiative to implement, you know, a whole new software database. We're on the antiquated legacy system, black and green screen. We're now moving, you know, the high level Amazon, you know, level system. So it's going to move all of our stakeholders to a platform that allows faster electronic submission of applications, reports, consumer complaints. We'll have an easier system to go in. So we're very excited. And of course, it accepts credit card payments or debit card. So the functionality, I'll just give a very high level. Additional functionality is coming soon. We're going to start implementing the remaining applications. We'll also be implementing an inspection part of it so that inspectors can have more of an electronic inspection process, email licensees their you know, findings right then and there, put it in their account. So it's much more expedient. So high level, there'll be online registration to submit applications, renewals, online complaints, and mandated reports, online credit card payments. Additionally, it works via email. So when we receive your application, you get an email. Your application has been received. Your payment is confirmed. Here is your receipt. So all of that gets sent back to you via email. And coming soon, it's also going to send you a text message if you opt in that says, hey, check your Bureau login, check CFB Connect. That's what it's going to be called, CFB Connect. Check CFB Connect. We're trying to tell you something. You have something in your account. So then you go in and you can see our communications, check the status of your most updated status on your application. So there's live status on applications as well. So yep, I think that takes care of like the high level functionality of the system. So now we're moving on to, I'm just very excited about that. I could talk about it for an hour. It'll be really nice to be able to work with licensees and consumers in a more efficient basis, in a more IT. It's the days and times that it is. So we need to get on board. So moving on to the audit update, I'll turn it over to Michelle Arthur, our audit manager, who'll provide us an update on the mandated reporting statistics. And I believe we have a handout for that, moderator, so feel free to change the screen. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Just a quick update on our annual reports and quarterly reports. So for the cemetery annual reports, 156 were received on time. Currently, there's 23 that have not reported, and for those 23, enforcement actions have been initiated for those licensees. The next page is for the funeral side. So 717 were received on time, and 154 have not reported. So that's about 1,116 in total. So this is a very busy side for us. Most of these that have not reported is just funeral establishments not realizing they have to provide that declaration of non-reporting status each year. Once the new BizMod system goes in, we can just send an email saying you need to resend this every year. We're going to start more on the listserv and Facebook pages, sending out reminders when these reports are due. Hopefully that will help our reporting stats. As of 2022, we are having a lot of the declaration of non-reporting status come in via email. We changed up the report a little bit, but has a little button at the bottom of the report saying submit via email, I believe it says, and that comes directly to our audits CFB email box. That's very exciting for us. Next one is the cemetery quarterly reports. Luckily, these are very timely. And as of January 1st, the fee has come up to $11.50 instead of $8.50. Next is the crematory reports. Not as good as cemeteries, but still very good response time for the on-time submission of these reports. Again, this one has gone up to $11.50 instead of the $8.50. And lastly is kind of a brief oversight of the funds that we oversee. So the endowment care and the special care funds, that's about $2.2 billion that we oversee. The endowment care funds, that's 191 individual licensees. And for the special care funds, that's for the pre-need cemetery services, that's about 133 of our licensees. On the funeral side is 591 individual licensees that are submitting 3D reports. So in total, we just passed the 3 billion mark. So we're $3,071 million that the Bureau oversees.
Okay. Well, thank you for that update and ending on such a large number. So when she says oversees our audit unit, the reporting that she spoke to at the beginning, the cemeteries, the funeral homes, they send in a report of their financial statements and audited financial statements that they review just to ensure that the consumer funds are properly trusted and properly managed. In our annual report each year, we do report on findings of mismanagement and so on. But overall, this is, this is a well-protected $3 billion, not only in the hands of our licensees, but also the oversight of the audits unit. Any inquiries or complaints on this, there is a statute that will allow the audits unit to go perform an on-site examination of the cemetery or funeral home if there's any suspected misconduct. But mostly we are reviewing the annual reports each year. In addition to perform, we do have a mandate to perform an on-site exam of the cemeteries every 5 years. That difficult's a little bit harder to mandate, to meet with the number of staff we have and obviously the size of money that we oversee. But we're chipping away at that also. So thank you, Michelle. Thank you for you and your team and all the work they do there. Let's see, moving on to letter F, the consumer guide to funeral and cemetery purchases. I'm very excited to announce that, I know we've talked about it, I think in 3 meetings now. So it is out, it is posted. The English and Spanish version are both posted. I am making a call here today for any other languages that you would like to see. That's easy enough. I can get those translated and also posted on the website. So the new consumer guide, the revision needed to happen to include hydrolysis, as that's a new form of disposition. And then overall, we kind of just gave it an update as it hadn't been updated since 2013. So those are posted online. So as the establishments are running through their current backstock, we do expect them to be in our funeral homes and cemeteries and establishments by the end of August, September. Okay, so that's very exciting, but it is available on our website, at any time. Last but not least, we also had to update the cremated remains disposer booklet. So we did not do much to this booklet. This is a draft of the booklet, with the only changes being that we added hydrolysis. So this is really a call to the industry, our committee, to review it, take your time, look it over page by page, let us know what else we can do here. Any comments or suggestions would be appreciated. I'd like to have the final, be able to be at the October meeting. That would be our goal. But if there are significant comments back on the draft, then it may take longer. But if I don't receive anything, I'd say by, it's end of fiscal, so I'll even give it till the end of July. Then around August or so, we'll start drafting it for the getting the final through everyone to prepare for October meeting. So there's that. There's no other major changes in there, but we'd be open to ideas. So that takes care of 5A through G. Is there any other discussion from committee members on any of those lengthy topics? Okay, seeing none, I'll ask for public comment, please.
And this is the moderator, and we've opened up the WebEx Q&A to facilitate public comment. If you'd like to make a comment on any of the elements of the Bureau activities, You can look for the question mark icon, type the word comment and click send, or simply raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon. And that's typically at the bottom of your WebEx computer screen or behind the 3-dot other options if you're on a mobile device. Any comments from anyone? It looks like Maggie McMillan would like to comment.
Hey, I'm so sorry I missed my opportunity during the committee members, but mostly I wanted to say I think as a practitioner, the business modernization is great. I'm really excited to hear that. Excuse me. I wanted to make sure I heard you right, Gina. Did you say right now it's only live for the funeral director application, or is it live for any license?
We just released funeral director.
Perfect.
So
and is
we
the
do have the cemetery salesperson still up from before. So,
okay.
That cemetery salesperson is still up, but yeah, but that is a different system altogether. This is our first and only one released so far on CFP Connect. And the link is on our website, on our homepage.
Okay. And then through CFP Connect, once everything is in there, have you guys talked about how that will look like for, like, will it be accessed by license number? So if I'm a director at an establishment, will I have 2 different access points, one for my establishment license and one for my director's license?
That's a very good question. So you will be able to link all your licenses.
Oh, wow.
So you're going to have almost like a dashboard. You can have multiple applications open for embalmer. If you're trying to get new licenses, you got multiple applications on your same dashboard in addition to link all your licenses.
That is really, really exciting. So I guess that's my comment.
Okay, I appreciate that because it sparked another comment for me. You also access it through like a username and password, like you would for any online kind of system. Username and password, and obviously requires an email.
Great. That's very, very exciting. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. I appreciate it. I'm excited too. Okay, anything else for public or?
I do not see any other requests for comment, so shall I close the public comment feature?
Yes, thank you.
You bet.
Okay, so we're moving on to agenda item number 6, the legislation update. I will pass it over to Ms. Catalina Simmons to give us an update.
Good morning, everyone. Updated legislation, a chapter for 2022. I have 2 bills. The first one is Assembly Member Garcia introduced AB 351. This new law requires the Bureau to regulate and license reduction facilities, reduction of human remains, and the disposition of reduced human remains. The law provides an alternative method of disposition for human remains. It has a delay implementation of January 1st, 2027. The second bill, the chapter, is Senator Roth introduced SB 1443. The bill statutorily increased the Bureau's fees, which had previously done in regulation. It added a new fee for filing the endowment care fund of the annual report, and increased the regulatory fee from $850 to $1150. As for the legislation for 2023, the Bureau is monitoring right now 2 bills. The first one is Assemblymember Irwin introduced AB 528, the regulation of cemeteries and pet burial. This bill will authorize a public or private cemetery to designate a separate, clearly marked section of the cemetery where deceased pets could be buried with their deceased owners. If the cemetery designated such a space, the bill will require that the pet and human remains be in separate remain containers. And it authorizes them to be placed in the same plot, niche, crypt, or vault. The second bill being monitored is Assemblymember Flora introduced AB 1560, crematories change in ownership. The bill will authorize a crematory license to be assigned when a change of ownership occurs under specific certain conditions. And it would include the fee of $750 payable to the Bureau. This concludes the legislation update. If there are any comments.
I have a couple. So I'm going to start with the reduction of human remains. The Deputy Chief, Sandra Patterson, and myself were very graciously allowed to travel to the state of Washington and actually tour 3 reduction facilities. So this is such a new disposition that, you know, when hydrolysis came in, we actually had some field reps who learned about hydrolysis through school. It had been around, they knew about it, they were aware, they had seen a machine and so on. With the reduction of human remains, that is really a natural reduction of human remains with straw and wood chips and alfalfa and this certain mixture of organic material and the decedent remains in this material till they're fully becomes part of the soil. So it's about 3 cubic feet of soil that's either placed in a land conservation, you know, integrated into the soil where it's legal in the city or county that allows the scattering of human remains. But this is reduction. This is not composting. That is a common term that is being thrown around nationwide. It is not composting. Composting is highly regulated, and this is considered human remains. This soil is considered human remains and must be disposed of properly and with respect as human remains would be. So it was very interesting to see the facilities themselves and how they are just a little bit different, so that when we start writing our regulations, we can make sure to incorporate these types of businesses here in California. So we have a couple years to start writing regs, but we will be working with Department of Public Health, as they're the ones, just like hydrolysis, that will approve the machine prior to being licensed here at the Bureau. So it's very interesting. It was a very interesting tour. A lot of information. It was, and I just very much appreciate Washington's licensees and board for allowing us to participate in that. Very, very informational, very educational. So for current legislation, the AB 1560, the crematories change in ownership. Just for those that don't know, currently a funeral establishment already allows a license number to be assigned to a new owner. We call it an assignment, very easy. This crematory license is very similar, where the license number will stay the same. The goal is to, the continuity of operations is the ultimate goal, is to not have the cemetery actual license lapse and close before the new owner can come in and start operating. So there is still going to be those times, you know, there's not every change of ownership at a crematory is going to be an assignment, because they do carry that whole license number and history of that license to the new owner. So it's just giving another option on how to change ownership in a crematory. I do not expect this to impact the Bureau, any resources or anything like that in any way, actually just improve the ability for crematories to continue working. So those were my last comments. Does the committee have any comments on last year's legislation or bill? Oh, I have one more, sorry. These do not include the bills that are being watched by DCA that affect the department as a whole. For example, like the temporary licensure we talked about before, or the federal law that came in. So if anyone is interested in overall bills affecting occupational licensing, you know, please reach out to the Bureau, email CSB at dca.ca.gov, or reach out to Carolina Sammons directly, and we can give you those bills also. Now, is there any committee member comments? Anybody have anything? Yes.
Yeah. I didn't know about AB 528, the pet burial, and I just, as a person working in homes for the last 8 years with in hospice patients and I'm excited to learn more about that because I see pets as deep companions for a lot of single elderly people, and I can just imagine the peace it would have given so many of my patients to know that they would be next to their companion after they pass. So I'm excited to learn more about that.
That is a very good point. That is, I think that is, part of the ultimate goal of this is to really see that, for families. Okay, anything else? Okay, let's open it up for public comment.
And this is the WebEx moderator, and we've opened up the WebEx Q&A feature to public comment on the legislation update. If anyone has any comments, you can look for the question mark icon, type the word comment and click send, or raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon. And if you're on a mobile device, the hand icon may be behind the 3-dot other options. Any comments on the legislation update? I do not see any requests for comment. Shall I close that feature?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
One final thought on legislation. Although the Bureau cannot take a position on any legislation, that's why we don't kind of venture down that path in our meetings. We can provide technical assistance and technical advice on how to implement a bill that has been out there. So that's really just the role. So going forward, if you guys think of, if anyone thinks of how this legislation could be, better implemented, we always can take that, but the Bureau is always reviewing them and providing technical assistance when needed. That's about all we can provide. So moving on to number 7, regulatory update. Carolina will provide an update in regards to our current regulatory activities.
Okay, moving on to regulations update. This is as of May 1st, 2023. On February 9, 2023, Office of Administrative Law approved the regulatory package for AB 293. This bill deals with pre-need funeral arrangements, the unclaimed property. It establishes procedures for when and how pre-need funeral arrangements that are not claimed upon the beneficiary's death should be escheated to the state under unclaimed property law. It also requires a funeral establishments use Bureau-approved forms to notify the beneficiaries or trustors of the pre-needs under certain conditions. These forms are posted on our website and are available for use. The Bureau did some cleanup regulations with the enactment of Senate Bill 1443, which fixed the fees by statute and no longer have a range, resulting in having many CCRs that are no longer needed and they were repealed. Another cleanup the Bureau did is, which caused minimum impact to the Bureau and the industry. This goes back to Senate Bill 800. In 2017, the legislature passed Senate Bill SB 800, allowing crematories to share crematory managers under certain conditions. When California Code of Regulations 2326.1 was added for this. And this regulatory package was approved on January 3 of 2023. Lastly, as part of our meeting material, the Bureau will be doing a little bit of more cleanup with California Code of Regulations 1230. And this bill was introduced in 2017, AB 1381. This bill allowed the funeral establishment that in addition to a full-time embalmer, they can use a trade embalmer. They can hire on a case-by-case basis. And along with our cleanup, we are working on a regulatory package as part of our meeting materials, showing the amendments to the CCR 1230. Section A is introducing the form when funeral establishments are requesting permission from the Bureau to train apprentices. Section B informs the funeral establishment that has received approval from the Bureau that they shall submit the application no later than January 15 of each year. Section C is informing funeral establishments that they may request to be treated in aggregate for the purpose of training apprentices under certain requirements. If there are any comments, please feel free to reach out to the Bureau. We will continue working on preparing the regulatory package and expect to submit it to OAL, Office of Administrative Law, hopefully before the end of the year. And this concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much, Carolina. This text for our California Code of Regulations 1230 that's up on the screen now. It looks like we completely wiped it out and started new, but it was kind of clean up. We wanted it to match the statute, so we moved some things around. In addition, in creating just one form, I think there's been two forms historically. We're combining to one form with one fee and allowing to implement the entire statute with just this one form. So we are looking for feedback before the official 45-day comment period. Once this package is completed and submitted to Office of Administrative Law, it will go out for a 45-day comment period. But we would like to work out any tweaks to this on the way before that comment period. I'm open to a separate stakeholder meeting if we think if it needs that, or just shoot us an email, send it to email CFB, send it directly to Carolina or myself, and give us any ideas or if you have any questions on how this is written. We really tried to simplify it. I know it doesn't look like that with all the strike through and underline, but we really did try to simplify it to really mirror exactly what the statute said. So like Carolina said, we welcome any feedback. It is mostly cleanup. This will not impact how the industry is currently operating in this area. So this is literally just cleanup. The only change will be, they'll have to do this form instead of, so that is the only change to the industry. Otherwise, it can continue status quo. Is there any comments from the committee members on this agenda item? Jolena.
Will this form, once it's active, be one that also will make it into the online ability to apply and follow its progress to authorization?
Yes. So we have a list. The Bureau is a busy Bureau. We have about 47 forms between change of corporate officer, change of cemetery manager, change of funeral director. So we're really trying to get the licensing applications up. Then we're going to be moving on to what I call maintenance applications, like, change of manager, applying to train apprentices, so we will be moving into those forms. Absolutely. Great question. Are there any others? None from Jolena. Anyone else? Okay, we can open it up for public comment.
And this is the WebEx moderator. We're opening the Q&A feature for public comment on the regulatory update. If anyone would like to make a comment, you can raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon, or you can look for the question mark icon, click that, type the word comment, and click send. And if you are on a mobile device, these options may be behind the 3-dot other options. Are there any comments on the regulatory update? I do not see any requests for comment. Shall I close the public comment feature?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Okay, number 8, agenda item number 8, licensing statistical report and update on exam development. We do have a handout for our statistics. These statistics reflect the first half of the fiscal year, July 1 to December 31st. Our October meeting will show the full fiscal year. So we'll have a good 6 months, 12 months at each of these meetings going forward. So the Bureau, going on to the first slide, shows our licensing performance measures. These are established timeframes for processing complete applications, meaning the application is deemed complete upon the initial review from a staff member. As you can see by the slide, the Bureau is meeting or beating these performance measures in every area for receiving complete applications. Moving on to the next slide is the cemetery salesperson electronic application. Well, hopefully in October, I'll have cemetery salesperson and funeral director application, and we can kind of compare our timeframes. Last meeting, we were beating it by 4 days. Now it's 11 days, but I would say that's a direct result from the leaving of Cheryl Jenkins, manager. Then we promoted from within, then we promoted from within again, and now we're fully staffed back in licensing. So we expect that to go down, to go back down for the average time frame for online applications. So, but it is still beating the paper ones. The next slide for the number of licenses issued. I lost my spot. Okay, so as you can see, last year we issued 1,005. First 6 months of the year, we're about 555. So Julia, that goes right back to your question earlier. We're on track to still meeting. But again, this was before the fee raise. So we're really going to see the impact. I'm glad that it went in July 1st, because even the previous 6 months to the latter 6 months of the year, we'll be able to see. But as of the end of the year, we are on track. Moving the licenses issued, obviously, is the blue line. The gold is for this current year. Moving on to license renewals. Again, we're always about half, or about 50-50, specifically because there's not a cart option in this industry specifically. Funeral homes, for example, may pay for multiple managers, or cemeteries pay for, or brokers pay for multiple cemetery salespersons. So they'd rather send in one check with, a bunch of applications or a bunch of renewals versus, you can't really go in and pay a bunch of times on one credit card. It will stop you. It will not let you. It'll say that is fraud. You can't do that 100 different times. So that will increase. We will eventually be moving the cemetery salesperson application into CFB Connect, and I think that will give us a better option, and hopefully we'll see this increase eventually. This has kind of been pretty stagnant since we released the online renewals. Moving on to exam pass rates. So we have 5 examinations. The Bureau is in constant exam development mode. So these passing rates, they have been pretty static over time. We haven't really gotten any inquiries about them, but the pass-fail has been pretty standard. Finally, the last page of licensing statistics, stats, are our application deficiencies. These also are kind of the same each time. They don't necessarily change very often, but these are our most common deficiencies. So a deficiency means that the staff member did not find that application complete upon review. So if everybody had these things in their file, that application, look how much faster it would go for you. If you look at our performance measures. So getting those transcripts here ahead of time, because mostly people don't print them anymore and put them in the, with the sealed envelope and put them in their application. Everything's online and just have the school send it to us. So do that first before you even apply, before you send us the app, send us those transcripts first, because that's always an easy deficiency right off the bat, because sometimes they take a couple weeks. And of course, your live scan and whatever else is zoning and so on. So those are our most common deficiencies. I think I'm going to take 8 and 9 together. Oh no, because I still have exam development. Never mind. Can we go back to the agenda if you don't? Thank you very much, moderator. You are on top of it. So I'm going to give a quick update on examination development. Since the last advisory meeting in October, the Bureau completed exam development for the funeral director license. The new exam is scheduled to be released in August of 2023. And again, I can't express how grateful we are for our subject matter experts, which are our funeral director licensees that participate in exam development. We appreciate all the funeral directors licenses that participated, whether you had 20 years in the industry, 2 years in the industry. We just really need a wide variety of what the trends are and what the experiences are from all geographic locations. So we appreciate the time that they put in to exam development with us. So we're going to begin, since we're always in exam development time, we're going to begin our exam development on the crematory manager category next. So we're going to kick it off with a survey, and we'll be, blasting that out on listserv, Facebook, doing as much outreach as we can to our crematory managers. We'll probably also be sending information to funeral homes and cemeteries just in the event, they tend to hold more than one license, and we can get them any way we can. So the recruitment will begin in July for the crematory managers. The workshops for the development of the exam are held in person and via teleconference, so we don't have to travel as much as we used to. And those who participate are reimbursed a daily rate of $250. For the in-person ones, if it's long enough, you get some meal reimbursement. And of course, all travel for the in-person ones are handled by the Bureau, so there's no out-of-pocket expense there. So all licensed crematory managers are encouraged to update your mailing address and follow us on Facebook and our listserv, which is our email blast, so that they have opportunities to participate in exam development. So what this exam is, specifically, these 5 exams are focused on the Cemetery and Funeral Act here in California. We talked earlier about the embalmer having the sciences section at the national level. They are the only license that has to take a national exam. Otherwise, these 5 license types are required by statute to take, it's like a California law exam on the Cemetery and Funeral Act and practice in the industry. So that's the exam development we're working on when we talk about that. So if I don't see any discussion from our committee members, I think I'll just go on to enforcement statistics and we can do comments on both. Okay, I'll move on. So agenda item 9 is the enforcement statistical report. I do have to make a comment. What is on the website, there's actually 2 numbers that are off. So what we will be seeing on the screen is the most up-to-date enforcement statistical report, and we do have a ticket into our IT department to switch them. But there's only a couple numbers that are off. That means committee members, what I emailed you, your guys' are off too. I'll highlight which ones are the errors, and I'll resend it out to all of us. So if we can move on to the handout. There we are. So the first slide shows the number of completed inspections performed by our field representatives. Last year totaling 1,240 last year. This year, even with we're short a field rep, we still have performed 571. We are typically around 1,200 historically for the number of inspections performed by our field representatives. So it looks like we're about, if we can get on the same path the second half of the year, we'll see. Inspections completed is a direct reflection also, the number of them completed is a direct reflection also of the number of complaints we get. So we completed a lot that first 6 months, but our complaint numbers were a little bit lower and they have increased these past couple months, which isn't reflected on these statistics I'm coming to, but we will see that in our October meeting. So the next slide shows the number of complaints, like we said, through December 31st. So the documents online and the documents in our hands as committee members, it says the total complaints received was 401, was actually 408. So that's one misstep there. So if that were to have stayed the same and we only got 816, that would have actually been a lower number. But like I mentioned, January through May, we did see an increase. So we are expecting to again this year hit 1,000 complaints or more. That doesn't mean each one of them is substantiated or goes into a citation or anything. This is just the number of complaints received from consumers or other licensees or Bureau initiated. There's multiple ways we can open a complaint. So it does, it does show funeral licensees a little bit more than cemetery licensees. You know, of course, there are more funeral establishments in the industry than cemeteries. So that always is a reflection of that also. So moving on to the next slide is the number of citations. Out of those complaints, there were 68 citations. Our document shows 64. So that's another change. So there's 68 citations issued, with 72% being funeral homes. On our documents from before and online, it says 75%. Okay, those were the only three areas that the numbers were different. So like I said, this is expected as there are more funeral establishments than cemeteries, reflecting a larger population. And typically that's what consumers complain on, is those two license types of establishments versus, you know, salespersons or crematory managers or things like that. So the next slide is our most common violations. These are our most common violations that are found during an inspection or investigation for cemeteries. Because they're so different, that's why we split them up. And the final slide would be the most common violations found on the funeral side. So funeral directors, funeral establishments, embalmers. The reason we always say cemetery and funeral side, just for a little history, as some members are new, a long time ago, we used to be two different boards, the Board of Funeral Directors and Embalmers and the Cemetery Board. So we had two separate acts, two separate sides of the law. So that's why we kind of refer that way still to this day. Okay, that takes care of my statistics for items 8 and 9 for licensing and enforcement. Is there any comments from the committee? Jolena.
I was just wondering how these most common violations for this most recent fiscal year might compare to common violations from previous periods. Are they trending about the same? Have there been any new most common violation that is now making it onto the hit list that wasn't there previously? And are these areas, if they are emerging as potential violations, is there anything being done to help assuage the tide that might be rising on them?
Those are great questions. I have not compared them to last fiscal year because, you know, we just started doing these enforcement statistical reports in, I think it was 2021. So right now we will have 2 years, and as of October, we'll have a 3-year trend. So that is that 3-year trend. That is a great question, and I'd like to present on that in October when we've done a little research on that. Is that a good idea? Is that okay?
That would be phenomenal, because if we're finding that there's a particular common violation that's emerging, maybe some corrective action might be helpful from our professional associations and our local funeral directors.
I agree.
Okay, great. Yeah, we'll definitely add that to the enforcement statistical report next meeting, and we'll have a slide that can kind of show the most common violations over a 3-year trend. There is one final slide I completely skipped over. I'm so sorry, and it does actually speak to exactly what you're asking, Jolena. There is a most common violations pre-pandemic. But but this is just cemetery, is that correct? Let's say license, place of business, 7680. Oh, it's both. Okay, so this is just top 5 for both cemetery and funeral pre-pandemic. So it doesn't exactly give us our direct comparison. But annual report, designating a manager, you know, CPL, GPL matching, failure to display a license, those have stayed the same at least, you know, pre-pandemic. So we'll do a little bit more thorough, but this was a great addition slide from our new manager that was appointed after Cheryl Jenkins, who's Alexia, who most of us have worked with if you're in the industry with your business applications or establishment applications. So I appreciate this new slide, and we'll provide more in October after we review that. Okay, is there any public comment? We can open it for public comment.
And this is the moderator, and we've opened up the WebEx Q&A feature to facilitate public comment. If anyone's got a comment on the reports, you can look for the question mark icon, type the word comment and click send, or simply raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon. Are there any comments on the reports? I do not see any requests for comment. Shall I close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Okay, since there are no further comments on those last two agenda items, I can now adjourn this meeting. I appreciate all of you for coming. Thank you very much, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.